All right. One of the, I was going to say one of the most important principles, I think the most important principle, um, is that of vibration. Let's take it at a very basic, simple, physical level, okay? Nothing mystical, nothing occult, okay? Just plain physics. Everything is energy. Everything vibrates, okay? Because it is energy. As a matter of fact, one of the most prominent theories at this particular point in particle physics is string theory. What is string theory? String theory just simply states that these little particles that we think about are actually little strings that vibrate. And the rate at which they vibrate determines what they are. Now, the Hermetic Principles, which I read for the first time in, I think it was 1975, and the book was published in 1912, and the principles have been around for many hundreds of years before that. If you read the first initial chapters, including vibration, you couldn't help but come to the conclusion that vibration was the difference between everything, that it determined what everything was. So here's something done God knows how many years prior to the advent of particle physics, that if you read it, you had to come to the same conclusion as the people who have in particle physics. Now, if it's the determining factor, and we use correspondence, and we know that there are mental levels, then also there are levels of vibration through you, through physical objects, through mental activity, through spiritual, however you want to look at it. It is the sensitivity of vibration that helps make a person psychic or makes a person mediumistic. Okay? This world of what people want to call the world of spirits, these dimensions of reality interpenetrate one another. They all exist simultaneously with us, okay? But the determining factor is vibration. We cannot see them or be aware of them, just as we can't be aware of the infrared or the ultraviolet and the spectrums of light without the use of some type of mechanism, because we're not sensitive to it. There are certain sounds that when they're below a certain level or above a certain level, we can't hear them for the same reason. It's why these things exist. And being aware of them becomes a matter of compatibility with your vibration. Okay? Now, how important is vibration? Oh, how about the idea that every single thought that you have, from moment to moment, creates a vibration? It creates something that's unique, and it tells you something else. Said it before, and I'm saying it again. Thoughts are things. They have their consequences in reality. The vibrations that you create determine everything. They determine who you are. We're going to talk about this when we get into polarity, which is going to be the next video. But the vibrations are controllable. But boy, it is not an easy task. It is something that has to be worked on. It is something that starts with using meditation and meditating to raise your vibrations, meditating to calm yourself and take all that energy that is used directing your existence out into the outside world and turning it inward, and feeding that portion of yourself, which is your mind and your spirit. As you do that, the sensitivity level goes up, and you become aware of much, much more. There is so much that is open to us in our existence that we don't take advantage of. You know, I mentioned it in the chapter when I talked about being psychic, where I was able to, I think, save my son from a very, very severe injury because I had a feeling that something was wrong. And again, think back at your existence, where you may be thinking about somebody and all of a sudden they call. You can't believe how many times that happens to people. So you're aware at a different level, but you're just not aware enough to have it happen on a day-to-day basis, on a continuous basis, moment to moment. And even when you develop psychic abilities, it doesn't happen that way anyway. If you develop property, you can tune it in or you can turn it off, okay? It's something that you have to work at. It's something that's extremely important, but it's something that controls everything. It says in the Hermetic philosophy, if you grasp the principle of vibration, if you grasp it, you have grasped the scepter of power. You are beginning to take control, or you have the opportunity to take control. To do this takes discipline. To do this takes commitment. But if we really want something bad enough, don't we do that anyway? We focus, and that's probably another word that you're going to hear me say over and over again is focus. You know, when Silva Mind Control came out, I think it was the early 1970s, people looked at it and said, oh my God, Silva Mind Control. People, they're trying to control other people's minds. It was not other people's minds. It was your mind. Because they realize what you think, what you desire, what you wish has an impact. We're going to talk about this again when we get into talking about cause and effect. And we're going to make a correlation there between those two principles. And vibration will take itself and will affect all the other principles that we talk about. The next principle we're going to talk about is polarity, and how vibration affects you, your existence, and your daily life, and what you can do to improve it, both your daily life, but also yourself. And how easy and how difficult it can be to make those type of changes, and hopefully something that will assist you in beginning to make those type of changes, to give yourself a better life and a much more glorious outlook as to what lies in front of you in terms of your existence. We'll move on to that principle next.